Hey people, it's nice talking. Now, the title of this is Black Lives Matter, Trayvon Martin. Now, I chose to do this because I realized it was Trayvon Martin's birthday today, and obviously, you have to cover such an important story as this. And when I was doing the research to find a suitable article to read from, it was quite difficult. There are some that have so much detail they can't realistically be covered. Some of them go off into things that aren't really related to the meat of the story. Others are biased, like one from biography.com, and I felt that was kind of setting up Trayvon to take the blame, and I didn't want to use that. So I settled on this one from CNN, which I think is acceptable, because most of us know basically what happened. But it's important to commemorate it anyway. Okay, what happened the night Trayvon Martin died? And here these scumbags don't have a picture of Trayvon, they've got a picture of Zimmerman looking like a victim with his nose bloody. Trayvon Martin evidence, a photo posted online Monday, December 3rd, shows George Zimmerman with blood on his nose and lips. His attorney saying it was taken the night unarmed teen Trayvon Martin was killed in Sanford, Florida. Zimmerman, 28, faces second-degree murder charges in the death of Martin in Sanford, Florida, on February 26, 2012. Other evidence photos were released earlier this year. Trayvon Martin walked into a 7-Eleven, Sanford, Florida, grabbing a bag of Skittles and a can of Arizona iced tea, the hood from his dark gray sweatshirt over his head. He walked up to the counter, reached deep into his pants pockets, paid the clerk, and then walked out. This seemingly mundane act captured on surveillance video will be the last images the 17-year-old's loved ones would have of him alive. While questions still remain what happened next to Martin on the night of February 26th, became clearer on Thursday with the release of scores of pages of investigative and medical examiners' reports in addition to new images of Martin's shooter and the 7-Eleven video. Martin didn't live in Sanford, a central Florida city of about 53,000 people. Yet by that winter night, he'd been there for 7 days after being suspended for the third time. Dr. Michael M. Kropp High School in Miami. Again, I hate it when they bring that up. It has nothing to do with it. In this incident, for 10 days after drug residue was found in his backpack, according to records obtained by the Miami Herald. Again, that has nothing to do with it. He wasn't dealing drugs. He wasn't ever convicted or arrested of anything, and that had nothing to do with it. Okay, it's just irrelevant, but they're trying to assassinate his character. Okay, remember that. They are trying to smear him. Father Tracy had taken his son 4 hours away from home because now he or Trayvon Martin's mother wanted the teen to stay in his hometown where he could enjoy time with his friends, family, friend, and football coach Jerome Horton recalled later. That Sunday night, Martin was supposed to be getting a snack and heading back to Sanford home with his father's fiancée. It was on that walk back he encountered George Zimmerman, a 28-year-old neighborhood watch volunteer. Some details as to Martin's thought process around that time may someday be gleaned from what he told his girlfriend back in Miami in a cell phone conversation, his family's lawyer said. The boyfriend and girlfriend spoke at 7:12 p.m. Zimmerman's voice, meanwhile, comes through on a 911 call he made around that time, telling a dispatcher about a real suspicious guy. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around. Again, do you see how they criminalize everything? Just walking around. Do you have to have permission to just be on the street walking around? Do you have to explain to people? The dispatcher asked Zimmerman, who'd called 911 at least 4 times previously for other incidents, if he was following the person. He replied, "Yes." "Okay, we don't need you to do that," the dispatcher responded, but Zimmerman followed him anyway. I want to stop right there. Do you know when they shoot someone, they always say, he should have complied? The thing is, Zimmerman disobeyed a direct order, instigated a conflict, and then killed someone, and then he got away with it. The games they play. What happened next is a matter of dispute. Martin and Zimmerman were obviously in the middle of it, but no one else saw all that happened. One witness later told police that she heard a commotion which sounded like arguing, while another mentioning loud talking. And on a 911 call placed by a neighbor, the police sergeant counted one man yelling, "Help" or "Help me" 14 times in a span of 13 seconds. He was yelling when the 911 calls were later played back for him, and he was asked if they were from his son. Emotional Tracy Ma inquired responded no. When FBI analysis also detailed on Thursday said it couldn't be determined whose voice it was due to the extreme emotional state of whomever was yelling, a lack of words from which to compare overlapping voices, and insufficient voice quality on the recording. So you see that? The FBI are saying that they couldn't determine who was the one crying out for help, and it was most likely it was Trayvon. After all, why would Zimmerman, a grown man who had put himself in a situation and had a firearm to defend himself, be panicking and scared? It was Trayvon because he was being followed by some crazed stalker who was looking to kill someone. The same analysis also didn't reach conclusions as to whether Zimmerman used a racial epithet to describe Martin on his own 911 call. As some have alleged, Martin's family have said they believe Zimmerman, a white Hispanic, profiled the African-American teen. Numerous, witnesses, did clearly hear a gunshot. It came from Zimmerman's black 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The bullet went into Martin's left chest and lodged there. Police headed to the neighborhood after Zimmerman's initial 911 call, but didn't arrive until after the failed shot. They found Martin face down in the grass. A sergeant checked and couldn't find a pulse. For the next minute, he and another police officer teamed up to conduct CPR on the teen. A plastic bag brought by a neighbor was used to seal his chest wound. Firefighters and EMS from the Sanford Fire Department arrived at 7:27 p.m. to continue efforts to try to save him. 3 minutes later, at 7:30 p.m., Martin was pronounced dead, aside from a small scratch on one finger. The gunshot wound was the only apparent injury the teenager suffered. A medical examiner's report later found trace elements of THC and an element of marijuana in the system, though experts point out the challenging in equating the levels found with Martin's level of intoxication at the time of his death. Again, smearing. People who use marijuana are not violent. I've never heard that happen. I've never heard it. But they are using that as a way of absolving Zimmerman of stalking, harassing, and instigating a fight that led to someone's death. One officer who lifted Martin's shirt at the scene felt a large cold can in the center pocket of the teen's hoodie, which was the iced tea he'd bought just minutes before. Blood was later spotted on his Skittles, along with a lighter, a T-Mobile brand cell phone, headphones, and $40 and some change. A witness told police that after the gunshot, she saw a larger man standing over Martin. Just going back to the Skittles, something that Chris Miller said, around that time, a lot of these white kids made a trend making fun of Trayvon Martin, where they would just lie down, pose in some Skittles, and pretend to be dead, and called it Trayvoning. Don't ever forget that. Okay, Police arrived, described the shooter Zimmerman as compliant in answering their questions and willingly put on handcuffs. He had blood on his nose, with one officer saying it appeared broken while noting swelling on his face. And as photographs showed, blood on the back of his head. His back was wet and soiled as if he'd been in grass. Zimmerman claimed that Martin had attacked him, hit him in the nose, and knocking him back into the pavement. It was only then in self-defense that he'd taken out his gun and shot the teen, he said. Tests, the results of which were made public Thursday, would show evidence of Zimmerman's hands on the firearm, but not Martin's. An analysis of scraping from underneath the teenager's fingers did not contain any of Zimmerman's DNA, as might rub off in the case of a prolonged struggle. At the scene, Zimmerman declined to be transported to hospital despite his apparent injuries. A police officer reiterated that after Zimmerman complained his head hurt and he felt lightheaded while being driven to Sanford Police Department. But again, he turned it down. While at the police station, Zimmerman requested some tissues, water, and to go to the bathroom, but little else. He ended up turning over his clothes to police, but after being questioned and putting on a change of clothes bought by his wife, he headed home. Tracy Martin, meanwhile, didn't know where his son was. He filed a missing person complaint on the morning of February 27, telling authorities that his son hadn't returned from going to the store the previous evening. Police then showed Tracy Martin a picture taken from the crime scene and confirmed that the dead teenager was in fact Trayvon. As to Zimmerman, he remained in limbo for weeks, as if he was supposed to feel sorry for this scumbag. Police had declined to arrest him that night, saying there wasn't enough evidence to refute his self-defense claim. What do you mean no self-defense? You've got it on audio that you told him not to follow him. You followed him and instigated a fight. But of course, that's not enough. The burden is put on the victim to prove it. The investigation continued. In a capious request that someone be taken into custody, on March 13th, police described what happened as ultimately avoidable by Zimmerman if Zimmerman had remained in his vehicle and awaited the arrival of law enforcement, or conversely, if he had identified himself to mine as a concerned citizen and initiated dialogue in an effort to display each party's concerns. There is no indication that Trayvon Mine was involved in any criminal activity. On April 11th, Special Prosecutor Angela Corey announced that Zimmerman was being charged with second-degree murder. He was subsequently arrested and eventually released on bail. The start of his scheduled trial has not yet been set. Now, obviously, this is old, but we all know what happened. Anyway, let us pray for the family of Trayvon Martin and to give them strength throughout all the pain they go through. And we, as the people who remember, who care about what happened to Trayvon and all the young men and women who look like him, who are victimized, we pledge that we will remember and we will never stop fighting for justice. Anyway, this has been my one of the contributions for Black History Month. I don't think I've enjoyed it. I don't think you have, but I hope that this has energized you and given you some focus. Anyway, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace, family.